we're with Jimmy with Badger Meters, and we're going to talk about municipalities and distribution systems, and even on the private side too. I mean, this isn't really anywhere there's a water distribution system, there's a place for Badger, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things that we were discussing earlier, Jimmy, was scalability. You know, like I'm running into small developments and small villages, even smaller than towns. It doesn't really matter, does it?
It's not at all. The technology that Badger is using for AMI, which is Advanced Metering Infrastructure, we're using a cellular backhaul for our endpoints. And what I mean by that is the endpoint itself that's connected to the water meter communicates directly through a cellular network into the cloud, and then the data is available for the utility. The reason that's so important from a scalability standpoint is that the utility does not have to go out and put up massive amounts of infrastructure, which can be very costly for the utility. So a utility could literally start with 10 meters, with 100 meters. Then they could do their entire system as the money became available for that. Even a small utility that maybe only had 200 meters complete in their system, they can do those 200 meters because they don't have to put up the infrastructure. It's already there. We're using that cellular network that's already in place. Or it could be a utility of 150,000 services. Our technology doesn't care. We literally have that scalability allowing us to do that. Another thing that utilities may want to do is start with their commercial meters. As an example, maybe a utility has 10,000 meters total in their system, and 500 of them are their commercial meters. Those are the ones that are usually the largest revenue generating meters. So maybe because of our scalability, they simply start with those 500 large commercial meters, gives the utility the ability to start monitoring that data and helping them to increase their revenue. And then as the revenue becomes available, then they can go in and they can retrofit or they can replace all of the meters for the entire 10,000 meter system.
Interesting. So maybe when we all get back to the office after this event here at LMA, you can send over a case study that we can point to, and maybe I can add that to this little spot here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really good, because I think that's going to be the attractive thing. A lot of these distribution systems, especially with the smaller towns I'm thinking of, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They're not growing quick enough. They want a lot of things, but they can't always afford it. And even when they get matching funds, they can't come up with their side of it. So when they do step up and they are able to get a system in, the bottom line on revenue is so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One other thing on the revenue side, and let me just add this. Whenever utilities start looking at AMI, I mentioned that a moment ago, advanced metering infrastructure, so many times people get caught up in the electronics. They're fancy. They look at all the features and benefits, but utilities forget about the water meter itself. And the water meter is the item that is actually producing that revenue. You can go with the most advanced technology from AMI, but if you connect it to a water meter that is old and has lost its accuracy, it is only going to produce information coming from that water meter. So I always recommend that a utility do a study. They look at what that lost revenue is or what the unaccounted for water is. If it is pretty high, they need to incorporate a meter changeout program as part of that program. Now, whenever they put a new water meter in, they're going to be recouping 100% of that water, which translates into 100% of the revenue. So if a utility had meters that were only 80% accurate, for instance, they put in a new system, now they move that from 80% accuracy to 100%, they're going to automatically start accounting for 20 additional percent of water, which increases their revenue.
That's fantastic. Jimmy, thank you so much for this information.
You're welcome.
All right, good deal.
Thank you.